Hello and welcome to our next segment reading of the Asatru Edda. I am Asgarad Skag, and today's chapter is pretty self-explanatory. It is about Hel. Uder, the Dis of Orlog, is also the Dis of Death. Because she determines the Orlog in length of every human's life, she also determines their death. She who lays the lots of life, lays the lots of death. She and her sisters reign over the past, present, and future, and she reigns over and gathers under the scepter of her realm the generations of the past, present, and future. As the Dis of Death and ruler of Jormungand, she is also called Hel. Hel is both the name of the realm of bliss in Jormungand and its queen. When one is about to die, their Filja will appear before them right before she departs for Hel to prepare a feast for them. One may dream before their death that these women shall come to them heavy and drooping and choose them as their companion, so it may happen that these are their fateful women. At this point, some may consider what sort of dwelling they would obtain in the land of the dead when the breath leaves their body, or what reward was earned by a ready devotion to the Godin. By Hel's summons, one may be and will be called away from Odin's thing, and they may obey the decrees of the Norner. Each evening, the maids of Hel call the dying to their home, for there is a time when every man shall journey hence to the other world and stay in Hel's high hall. The Filja hears of it before anyone else when her mistress, Udur, has announced the doom of death against her favorite. She then leaves, which can be perceived in dreams or by revelations in other ways, and this is an unmistakable sign of death. But if the death-doomed person is not a Nidingur, whom she in sorrow and wrath has left, then she by no means abandons him. They are like members of the same body which can only be separated by need. The Haminja or Filja travels to Hel, her land of birth, to prepare an abode there for her favorite, which is to belong to her as well. It is as they enter into a spiritual marriage. The Filja meets her chosen after their third night's separation from the body. It takes 3 days before they leave for the underworld. At the same time, one may join their spouse or lover in Midgard in their home there if they are worthy of such. The dead should fare to the Hel thing well dressed and ornamented. Warriors carry their weapons of defense and attack, often still covered in blood of their enemies. Women and children carry ornaments and objects that were cherished by them. Images of these objects that kinsman and friend lay on the pyre follow the dead as evidence before the judges that they enjoyed the survivors' esteem and affection. The appearance of the gathering at the thing of the dead shows how carefully the survivors observe the law that commands respect for the dead and care for the remains of the deceased. Special shoes should have been given called helskor. Let a man ride to the thing washed and fed, along, although his garments are not too good. Of his shoes and breeches let no man be ashamed, nor of his horse. Altogether he does not have a good one. Many die under conditions that make it impossible for kinsmen to observe these caring duties. These strangers should take the place of the family. The condition in which the dead arrive at the thing should be best if pious dispositions are prevailing in Midgard, for noble hearts take the divine law to heart. Render the last service to the corpse you find on the ground, whether they have died from sickness, or are drowned, or are dead from weapons. Make a bath for those who are dead. Wash their hands and their head. comb them, and wipe them dry before you lay them in the coffin and pray for their blissful slumber. Their nails should be clipped. At Ragnarok, it will happen that the ship Naglfar will loosen from its moorings. It is made from the nails of dead men, and for this reason it is worth considering the warning that if a person fares to hell with untrimmed nails, he contributes crucial material to Naglfar, a ship that both the Godin and men would prefer not to see built. Naglfar, the largest ship, is owned by Muspelor Loki. It is our custom that he who gives an heirloom after kings or Jarlar and who enters upon the heritage should sit upon the footstool in front of the high seat until the full bowl, which is called the bragarfull, is brought in. Then he should stand up, take the bragarfull, make solemn vows to be fulfilled afterwards, point to the four corners with the horn, and thereupon empty the beaker. Then he should ascend to the high seat which his father had occupied, and thus he comes into the full heritage after his father. Do not mourn too much for the loss of a loved one, for such tears can be crucial to those dead, for those tears can be cruel to those dead. For each one falls bloody from and on their breast, ice cold and piercing and full of sorrow. Such will cause them to be covered with the dew of sorrow and will bring them back to visit their lamenting kinsmen or women to allay their sadness. One can also wake the dead with prayer, which is best done at night. For all dead warriors are more powerful in the darkness of night than in the light of day. It is said that the dead are easily to be summoned and listen more closely to earthly life once night has set in. Malrunar will give speech to the dead, so they will walk and talk with you. Besides the powers of sorrow and prayer, there is a third means of bringing the dead back. This is conjuration. But conjuring the dead is a need which makes the transgressor yield to the vatir of punishment. The earthly dead consists of the earthly matter, the la and rik, being separated from the person's higher elements and staying behind on Midgard. The dead who have fared to Jormungand are made up of und, oder, and liter. If one is sentenced to a second death at Gimli, the und and liter Goda will be separated from him at the Nagrindar. Then there remains only the oder, and this receives a liter that corresponds with the condition of the oder. The higher elements return to the Godin, traveling to the afterworld, whereas the lower elements are spread across the earth, returning to the waters, to the plants, and to all that lives. It is our belief that the higher the smoke of the pyre rises in the air, the higher he will be raised whose pile it is, and the richer he will be, the more property that is consumed with him. Because the lether can be damaged in the flames of the pyre, an offering is made so that the fire will consume it rather than the lether. This offering is customarily a goat. The appearance of the outer body depends on the condition of the lether, that is, of the inner being. Beautiful women have a joyous, fair lether. And emotion has influence upon the lether, and though it upon the blood and the appearance of the outer body. A sudden blushing, a sudden paleness are among the results of this. Lether also signifies a hamar, a guise of earthly garb which persons skilled in magic could put on and off. The form seen when one travels through hell is none other than the lether, which shows distinctly that the dead one has been in earthly life, and what care has been bestowed upon his dust. The washing, combing, dressing, ornamenting, and supplying of hellscore to the dead body has influence on one's looks when they are to appear before their judges. When the dead return to hell, they can be either good or evil depending on the nature of the person who dies. When they are good, they are called holor veter. When they are bad, oveater. The higher elements can return from the afterwards, and if they are called forth, but only conjuration can raise the oetir. Then they are evil and dangerous, but the Holarvatir are honorable and benevolent and work for the benefit of their folk, which is why they are good to have around. For this reason, people will often have family grave mounds where the ashes of the dead should be kept near their home. Preceding important events in the Et, the Vatir gather and confer among themselves. Odin has decreed that all dead men should be burned, but circumstances may arise where burial may be necessary. The elements of the dead one entombed in the grave mound will continue their interaction with one another for a long while, forming a kind of entity that preserves its personality and qualities because these were permeated with Und and Oder in mortal life. Thus, a grave mound contains a doppelganger of the person who has gone down to the kingdom of death. These doppelgangers are called Haugbur and Droger. Droger actually designates a tree trunk cut off from its roots. The Hausbui is called this because it is separated from its root of life, the Oder, and by decrees slowly pays its debt to nature, going to meet its dissolution. It might also happen that the lower elements, when abandoned by Oder and Und, become a doppelganger in whom the vegetation and animal elements exclusively assert themselves. Such a creature is always tormented by animal desire of food and does not seem to have any feeling of memory or bonds tied in life. In such cases, it is thought that the lower elements of the deceased consigned to the grave were never in his lifetime sufficiently permeated by his odor and Und, and enabled these qualities to give the corpse an impression of the rational personality and human character of the deceased one. And one of these sort and vegetative elements, united with his dust, still asserts itself so that hair and nails continue to grow on as a living being in the animal elements, which otherwise continues to operate in the one buried, visits him with hunger and drives him out of the grave to suck the blood of surviving kinsmen. The dead are burnt to protect survivors from such beings, but if buried graves are built and rites spoken over the dead to keep the Hagbur from leaving the grave, to prepare a peaceful, uninterrupted sleep for them and thus protect the survivors from affliction by them. Once a person has died, their higher elements remain around the corpse for 3 days and attend their own Helfor. All will have a guide that will lead them to hell, which appears before them right before their death, carrying their summonings to the hell thing. Foremost among them are the Valkursha, beautiful maidens with contemplative faces. Wherever a battle takes place, they appear fully armed there on the horses, though they wear feather guises, and with their spear shafts point out the champions whom Odin and Freyja have selected for their halls, and they carry the fallen to Jormungand, where and from there on the Bifrost to Asgard. Oder sent maidservants of a very different sort to the inhabitants of Midgard who are not among the heroic dead, each by the nature of their death. To those who survived to the burden of years comes the Dis, who is the handmaiden of Bent and Stooping. This kind-hearted Dis removes the burden which Eli puts on man and which gradually gets too heavy for them to bear. Children have their guides who are motherly, tender, and kind. To those who are snatched away by plague or other epidemics come Liken and the beings of Nifel, who resemble her, and those who die of disease are carried away from the corresponding Vatir of disease to the hell thing to be judged by the Godin. One must travel to the uppermost north in Jotunheimer to get to Jormungand. The entire road there is said to be fraught with peril and is almost impassable to mortals. You must sail around the ocean, which grinds the earth, putting the sun and stars behind your back, journey beneath the realm of night, and finally pass into the realms which suffer perennial darkness without a glimmer of daylight. From there, in the midst of the Jotunheimer monstrous hordes, you will find the passage towards Hell. To begin with, all the dead travel a common path called Helverger. They are directed on the same traveling road, and the same Helgreen opens itself daily for the multitudes of spirits who wait for different lots. Women and children, youths and men and elderly, those who are busy in the peaceful arts and those who stained weapons with blood, those who live in accordance with Odin's and Uter's decrees and those who broke them, they all have to take the same course. They come on foot and horse, for the horse that was cremated with its master afterwards brings the hero down to hell. Those burned with their ships will ride the wooden horse to hell. Beautifully adorned Valkyrjor and mild beings who help the old aged, the kind spirited guides of children, or the black and white Leekin, and the gloomy Vatir of disease leads them there. They gather outside the easterly Helgrider, one of the four situated at each point of Jormungand. The cords of hell were tightly bound round my sides. I would rend them, but they were strong. It is not easy to go free. I alone knew how on all sides my pains increased. Each eve the maids of hell called me to their home. I saw the sun, true star of day, sink in its roaring home, but I heard hell's grated doors heavily creaking on the other side. I saw the sun beset with red steams of blood. Then I was quickly declining from this world, and in many ways she appeared mightier than she was before. I saw the sun, and it seemed to me as if I had seen a glorious god. I bowed before her for the last time in the world of men. I saw the sun, she beamed forth so that I seemed to know nothing, but Yol's streams roared from the other side mixed with much blood. I saw the sun with quivering eyes, appalled and shrieking, for in great measure was my heart dissolved in sickness. I saw the sun, seldom sadder. I had always declined from the world. My tongue had become like wood, and all was cold without me. I saw the sun never again since that gloomy day, for the mountain waters closed over me, and I went, called from torments. The high road in Jormungand goes west through deep and dark dales. At one place, the dead have to cross over a mile-wide heath that is overgrown with thorns and has no trails. Then it is good to have hellscore as protection for the feet. Because of this, a dead man's relatives should not neglect to bind hellscore to the body before it is burned. Thus, it is customarily to bind the hellscore to men, and then that they shall walk on the Valhall. It is certainly true that these shoes, just like everything else placed with the dead, such as weapons, clothes, and ornaments, are burned up with the body. Everything in creation, even those things crafted by humans, has an inner substance and an inner form, and it is the inner beings of the objects laid on the pyre that follows the dead to hell. The care of the survivors has for the dead is reckoned by the gods, and if they have hell score, they come across the heath with well kept feet. If they do not have them, and in their lives they have been unmerciful towards those who have walked the thorny paths of life, then they do not get across it without torn and bloody feet. But for the merciful who lack hellscore, there are some hanging from a tree which grows from where the thorny path begins. They walk along the path worn by long ages of travelers. After this, the dead come to the river with the rushing water in which sharp-edged irons fill its torrents. The bed of this stream forms a natural boundary between the human and the afterworlds. This is the river Yor. Here, much mixed with blood of the unmerciful, which divides Jormungand's northerly and southerly regions following east to west. Foot-wide boards float there where no bridge is to be found. The boards give support when the feet of the merciful step on them and carry them over the river unharmed. The planks represent their good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. They slip away from the feet of the unmerciful who fall into the river and wade through it in severe pain. Although they are terribly cut up by the irons, they appear without mark on them for this when they come to the other side. On the other side, the dawn breaks and the green regions lie in the break of day with the Yod River flowing through them. Having advanced further, they again stumble on the river of blue-black water, swirling in the headlong descent, and weapons of various kinds are spinning in its swifting eddies. Again, the dead must cross this river, but here they travel over the Jarlarbru. The bridge is roofed with shining gold, and the maiden guarding it is named Modgodur. Once over the bridge, they come to a fork in the road. One path goes north to Mimir's realm, one south to Udr's fountain. Here is Gimli or Vingolf, where the Hell Thing is held to pronounce judgments over the dead. All of this walking takes place in unbroken silence. The tongues of the dead are cold and numb and do not make a sound. Neither can their footsteps be heard, for they have the lether of dead men. Their horses, when they arrive on such, noiselessly touch their hooves to the ground of the kingdom of the dead. The gold-laid bridge rumbles only under the hooves of the steeds of the Valkyr. Our ancestors called the funeral proceedings Helfor to honor the commencement of the journey to Udr's domain, which lasts 9 nights. The path of the dead leads them over mountains and through valleys, through the thing where they will be judged by the Godin. So during this time, we pray for their safe voyage and good judgment before the court. When the dead men reach the Thingstadr, they sit in long rows in front of the holy ring of stones of justice. Here they are awaited by their Firja, who went before them to hell and now sit beside their ward. Unfortunate is the one who has no Firja at the hell thing, where judgments are passed that have eternal validity. Your cattle shall die, your kindred shall die, you yourself shall die. But the fair fame of him who has earned it never dies. Your cattle shall die, your kindred shall die, you yourself shall die. One thing I know which never dies, the judgment of each one dead. The third root of Yggdrasil extends to the south, and beneath that roof is the holy well Udabrunner. There the Godin have their places of judgment. Each day the Aesir ride down there on the Bifrost and come through the southerly Helgrindar into Udr's realm. When they cross several rivers to their destination, the Aesir ride on their steeds each day when they go to pronounce dooms of Yggdrasil's ash. Thor rides across the sky while Mani's path thunders beneath him. Then he walks to the thing, wading the rivers of Kornt and Ornt, and the two Kerlaugr. Thor must wade these waters each day when he goes forth to pronounce dooms beneath the ash tree Yggdrasil, for the Asbru Bifrost is all on fire, and the holy waters boil. When the Godin have arrived from Asgardr, they dismount their rides and take their judgment seats, and the proceedings begin. The dead are now in their places, and we must be sure that their guides have not been slow on the journey to the thing. The Aesir sit in judges in the south of the Udabrunner. Odin sits on his high seat, and the other Aesir sit at the Thingstadi on each side. Before them sits the dead in each of the rows. They are pale and have the marks of the dead that they have endured. They have to listen to local proceedings and receive their judgment in silence, provided that they do not have Malrunner, which gives them the power to speak and defend themselves against any charges. You must know Malrunner if you do not wish that mighty one, Odin, shall requite you with consuming woe for the injury you have caused. You must weave, and place together all those runar in the thing where the host of people go into the full judgments. It very rarely happens that someone has these runar. If such is the case, he gets to step up onto the rostrum that was built for this purpose and state what he can in his defense. But no one does this other than those who are abandoned by their firja, and because of this, do not have any solicitors at the thing. The others do not need to speak, as little as they are capable of it, because each filja defends their ward. She is a benevolent witness to him and also the most reliable before the court, because she knows all of his thoughts, motives, and deeds. It is rarely required that she speak, for her presence next to the dead is proof in and of itself that he is not a Nidingar. Udur's odor is Udur's judgment, which shall come to pass no matter whether it comes to life or death. No one may deny Udur's judgment, however lightly spoken. Though those who are to join their ancestors in the land of bliss are given the judgment called Lofstir, whereas the judgment of the damned is called Namaili. The Godin judge human faults and frailties leniently. During their time of learning, they have made mistakes as well. Those who have come to the thing can expect a good judgment if they went through life free of deceit, honorable, helpful, and without fear of death. If they observe respect for the Godin and their Hoffen and tended to the duties of the kindred and to the dead, thus they must have followed the laws given to us by the Godin and lived by their virtues. I sat in the Norner's seat for 9 days, thence I was mounted on a horse. There the Giger's sun shone grimly through the dripping clouds of heaven. Without and within, I seemed to traverse all the 9 netherworlds up and down. I sought an easier way where I might have the readiest paths. Those who are declared worthy of bliss by the thing receive a taste of the mead before they leave, which removes every mark that remains on the body and restores their warmth of life. Their bodies again become corporeal, their tongues loosen, their life force is enhanced, and their strength increased, and it grants them the ability to forget their sorrows without obliterating dear memories or making one forget that thing can be remembered without longing or worrying. Odin will hand them to drink in Mimir's Gjallarhorn, a cool, bitter drink to forget their past afflictions. This drink is made from the liquids of the underworld fountains. They shall drink the Dairar Vigar, though they have lost life and lands. Here stands the mead, the Skirar Vigar, prepared for the dead. Thus, this drink is a mixture of liquids from the wells that maintain Yggdrasil's life, the same as was given to Heimdallr in preparation for his trip to Midgard, which keeps them alive throughout the ages. The blessed dead have the morning dews that fall near Udabrunner as their nourishment. When those who have the Lofstir pronounced over them leave the thing, they are accompanied with their Firja to their beautiful home, which these maidens have put in order for their wards. All men who are righteous shall live in that place called Gimli or Vingolf in the green worlds of the Godin. Children shall go to Mimir, who offer the field of ancient fathers in Glasavir. But evil men go to hell, where they are judged, and from there in Niflhel, which is below the 9th world. They are eager to see the many wonders of the glorious regions and to visit kinsmen and friends who had gone before them in their final destination. The Filja escorts her chosen on the righteous path called Moonvigir, that are the home of the honey ships or flowers. There they see rich nobles dressed in colorful robes. Passing these by, they eventually come upon the sunny region which produces vegetation, where they will spend their afterlife. Here, the inquisitive can participate in the Lita Kinis, where one seeks out and converses with ancestors and progenitors and learn the remarkable orlog of their family, indeed of all the ancestors told by those who actually saw what they speak of. Each morning the root red cock in Hell's Hall crows in the underworld. In honoring the thing and those declared honorable by it, he calls out, "Rise, you men, and praise the justice which is most perfect. Behold, the demons are put to fight." Thank you very much for sitting in on this rather long segment discussing the goddess Hel, the realm of Hell, and the very intricate process that the dead undergo when they leave the life of the mortal and travel to the other world. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to get all new content. Thank you again for listening in, and we'll see you on the next segment.